Next. Distinguished Senator Godswill Akpabio, GCON, Senate President, National Assembly Complex. Dear distinguished Senate President, confirmation of appointment of the Director General and Commissioners of the Securities and Exchange Commission. In accordance with the provisions of Section 3 and 5(1) of the Investment and Securities Act 2007, I'm pleased to present for confirmation by the Senate the appointments of the underlisted 4 nominees as Director General and Commissioners of the Securities and Exchange Commission. Mr. Emomo Timi Agama, Director General. Mr. Frana Chuwogo, Executive Commissioner, Legal and Enforcement. Mr. Bola Ajomale, Executive Commissioner, Operations. Mrs. Samiya Hassan Usman, Executive Commissioner, Corporate Services. While it is my hope that the Senate will consider and confirm the nominees in the usual expeditious manner, please accept, distinguished Senate President and distinguished Senators, the assurances of my highest consideration and personal regards. Signed by Bola Ahmed Tinubu, President, Commander-in-Chief of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Distinguished Senator Godswill Akpabio, GCON, Senate President. Distinguished Senate President, request for approval for the establishment of a promissory note program for reimbursement to Kebbi State and Nasarawa State governments for the takeover of newly constructed airports by the federal government of Nigeria. I write to request the concurrence of the Senate for the establishment of promissory note program in favor of Kebbi and Nasarawa state governments for the reimbursements of the respective cost of construction of newly built airports in those states, which have been taken over by the federal government. The Senate is invited to note that at the Executive Council meeting of EC 2023 16 extraordinary meeting of the Federal Executive Council FEC, which was held on the 23rd day of May 2023, it was approved as follows. That one, that a promissory note in the sum of 9,542,651,786 naira 11 kobo only be issued to Nasarawa State Government as refund for the takeover of the newly constructed Nasarawa Airport. 2, that a promissory note in the sum of 15 billion 137,336,095 naira and 80 kobo and 88 kobo only. That is 15 billion 137 million 336,095 95 naira 88 kobo be issued to Kebbi State Government as refund for the takeover of Benin Kebbi International Airport. The Senate may wish to note that by the provisions of Item 3 of the second schedule of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended, aviation, including airports, safety of aircraft, and carriage of passengers and goods by air fall under the exclusive legislative list. The import of this is that ownership, regulation, and control of airports in Nigeria are exclusive to the federal government. In light of the above, I urge the Senate to consider and grant concurrent approval for the establishment of the promissory note program in favor of Kebbi and Nasarawa state governments, respectively, as prescribed in paragraph 2 above. Meanwhile, attached herewith is a copy of the extract from conclusions of the second extraordinary meeting EC 2nd 2023 16 as Annex 1, Annexure 1, and the Bureau of Public Procurement BPP due process report in favor of Nasarawa and Kebbi states as Annexes 1 and 3, respectively, for your consideration. While looking forward to the kind consideration and expeditious actions of the Senate on this submission, please accept, distinguished Senate President and distinguished Senators, the assurances of my highest esteem. Yours sincerely, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, President, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The annexures are here to attached. Clerk, this correspondence is clearly referred to the Committee on Local and Foreign Debts to report back to the Senate in 2 weeks. Confirmation of appointment as Executive Commissioners, Nigerian Communications Commission, NCC. In accordance with the provisions of Section 8, Subsection 1 of the Nigerian Communications Commission Act 2023 or 2003, I'm pleased to present for confirmation by the Senate the appointments of the underlisted 2 persons as Executive Commissioners in the Nigerian Communications Commission. 1, Abraham Oshadami, Executive Commissioner, Technical Services. 2, Rimini Abdullahi, Executive Commissioner, Stakeholder Management. While it is my hope that the Senate will consider and confirm the nominees in the usual expeditious manner, please accept, distinguished Senate President and distinguished Senators, the assurances of my highest consideration and personal regards. Yours sincerely, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, President, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. This consideration of the Executive Commissioners of the Nigerian Communications Commission is hereby referred to the Committee on Communications to report back to the Senate in 1 week. Plants in Delta states in the next few minutes, and he would like me to represent you at the exercise. May I now hand over to the Deputy Senate President to continue. Yes, Ezewa, go on.
Thank you. The Human Rights Commission further ordered for a second DNA test, which again showed Mrs. Dikocha as the biological mother. Yet, according to the petitioner, the Commission has refused to order for the release of the child to reunite with his family. The petitioner is therefore urging this distinguished Senate, Mr. President, to investigate and direct the release of the child to reunite with the family. That the Human Rights Commission pay compensation of $500,000 for unlawful detention of their child, and to tender an apology to the mother and the child. Mr. President, the petitioner is not seeking any judicial remedy at the moment, and with your kind permission, Mr. President, I shall proceed to lay this petition on the floor of the Senate.
You can do so.
Then Sunday Marshall Katung, I represent the people of Kaduna South Senatorial District. From Kaduna.
By an advocate of human rights to present this petition on behalf of these Nigerians whose only offense is the fact that they bear the Nigerian green passport, and usually on transit between Nigeria and other countries passing through Addis Ababa. Mr. President, in most cases they allege that they are unnecessarily delayed on transit and subjected to interrogations, and that if you complain about being delayed and missing your flight, they throw you into their prison without any offenses identified or without being found guilty. Unfortunately, Mr. President, they also allege that instead of the Nigerian embassy in Ethiopia to come to their rescue, that they appear to support the Ethiopian police and officials of the airport. And so they are now appealing that Nigerian government should please intervene to enable them to be released. Mr. President, the most harrowing aspect of it is that a Nigerian lady, according to the information, who was passing through Ethiopia, was unnecessarily delayed. And when she agitated, they claimed that she was insane and took her to the hospital. When they did not find anything on her, they took her to the prison. When she came back, they claimed that she was sick and gave her an injection. And she said that the injection was not good for her body. But they took her back to the prison and brought her back to the hospital. They injected her again after all protestations, and that days afterwards, she died. Another Nigerian, a man this time, was also accosted on his way from Doha to Nigeria. A similar treatment was meted to him, and against all protestations, he was thrown into the prison, where people with chronic cases of tuberculosis and the rest of them were put, and that he contracted tuberculosis. He went back to the hospital. They didn't give him adequate treatment and subsequently died 2 days after. And so, Mr. President, this petition is intended to lay before the Nigerian governments and the people of Nigeria to please intervene on behalf of these over 250 Nigerians that are languishing in the Kaliti maximum prison in Addis Ababa. I so submit, Mr. President.
Minority Leader, it calls for intervention of this Senate, but I think this is not the best route because I don't think you are sure whether these 250 cases, some of them are not in the court of law over there. And if they are in the court of law, we are constrained to accept the petition through this route. But I think the best thing to do is to come through a motion, and then a resolution will be, we will have a resolution that will advise the federal government to intervene diplomatically and to see how the federal government will come, assist these people through legal and diplomatic means. That's the best way to go. That's the best route. Because to take this through this route, I think there's something wrong. You know that. So I think we should follow the other route, bring it through a motion, get it debated, and then we push forward by advising the federal government to go into the matter quickly through diplomatic channel. Or we take the Chairman Committee on Foreign Affairs and Justice to interface with the Ministry of Justice and whatever, and other organizations that, other agencies of government that have purview to deal with that matter.
Okay.
Is it a motion? Yes.
Okay, Mr. President.
Wait a second.
Okay.
But we can't debate it. It's not debatable. We'll finish with this first.
Mr. President,
let's finish with this.
I think I'm well guided.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay.
I represent Anambra Central Senatorial District. Mr. President, I'm the chairman of Senate Committee on Diaspora. Order 42 on personal explanation based on this issue. Mr. President, you recall that a motion had been brought on this issue by the former minority leader, Senator Simon Madkwan. The motion was debated and resolutions reached and referred to the Senate Committee on Diaspora and Foreign Affairs. We did hold an investigative session and invited the NIDCON officials and Foreign Affairs officials over this same issue of Ethiopian prison. We did, and action has progressed so much in this regard. Along the line you have suggested, diplomatic approach, to the extent that we are now looking for a bilateral agreement for our prisoners in Ethiopia to be transferred to Nigerian correctional centers to avert this recurring complaints of maltreatment. So even as I speak with you, Mr. President, by next week, the NIDCON, Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, are arranging a trip by members of our committee to go to Ethiopian prison to see these things for ourselves. Because we're inundated regularly with this type of petition and complaints.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for guiding the Senate. Thank you very much.
Yes, for guiding you.
It's a wonderful, thing you have done.
Thank you very much.
Asuko.
Shall, if possible, be referred to the President of the Senate before commencement of the day's sitting, and the President of the Senate shall refuse to allow the claims. Motion under combined orders 41 and 51 shall ensure that copies of the motion are available for all senators when approval to move the motion. Tourism potential, large forest reserves, mineral resources, and numerous agricultural products. Further notes that Odukpani local government area of Cross River.
What you need to do is to summarize your concern. When you summarize that, then we'll put to vote if the Senate will allow you to bring forward the motion. Maybe just give a summary of what you're talking about.
Disputes between the communities, which results in skirmishes all year round, has especially exacerbated during this farming season, where there are part and counter claims of land encroachment by both parties. This has led to reprisal attacks and killings of members of both communities.
Senator Asuko met the Senator and myself this morning and drew our attention to be taken now. If those in favor that it should be allowed, please say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. So
they are making copies available. The clerk of the rules and business.
Do you have copies?
Yes, I do.
Where are the copies?
The clerk of the
chance is about to go.
The clerk of the committee has gone
no.
as possible. The clerk of the committee was waiting for the approval to distribute the committees. The motions.
If
we look at our order,
take it easy. We'll take it tomorrow. No problem. We'll take it tomorrow.
Sir, we have it in the order.
You have made your point already. It's known. What you are trying to say is known.
If we look at our order paper, which we had to skip yesterday because of the death of our colleague, it is under substantive motion number 3. Please, there is a copy that can be read.
A friend of mine died through a bomb explosion, a Boko Haram bomb explosion in Borno. And I had the opportunity to go to Borno on the 10th of May. I am coming under this order because of the privilege I enjoyed being a member of this hallowed chamber. Coming from being of a PDP extraction, I was assisted by Senator Manguno and Senator Kakashehu from the time I left here up to the time I left Maiduguri. I was overpampered to the extent that I almost forgot why I was in Borno. This privilege is because we've been able to build bridges in this chamber. I have this opportunity because God gave me the opportunity to come and be amongst you. And I feel with what they have done, with all the fears I had when I was living here, it would be inhumane of me not to show this chamber that as a member, we are standing out and helping ourselves anywhere we find ourselves, that I enjoy being a member of this chamber. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you for the two senators you mentioned are wonderful people who are team players and generous and very kind. So thank you very much on behalf of the Senate. For food. I'm sure they did that for you. They did that for you, right?
Mr. President, I represent the good people of Imo North Senatorial District. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, permit me to lead this debate on this all-important bill, which seeks to provide for the establishment of the Projects Development Agency, PRODA, charged with the broad function of generating, catalyzing industrialization by carrying out industrial research from laboratory stage to the pilot plant stage, and rendering consultancy services to governments, industries, and individuals. Project Development Institute, PRODA, is among the federal government industrial research development institutes under the supervision of Federal Ministry of Innovation, Science and Technology as PRODA. It is among the oldest research institutes in the country, established in the year 1971 as East Central State Development Agency through ECN, that's East Central State Government. Edit number 11 of 1971, and later was taken over by the federal government through National Science and Technology Development Agency, Decree number 5, 1977. The bill was read for the first time in this Hallowed Chamber on Thursday, 27th of July, 2023. The bill seeks to give legislative backing to the already existing agency with over 53 years of existence, which has been a major setback of having viable industrial research and growing economy in Nigeria. The Project Development Agency Bill, when established into law, will have the mandate to, among others, conduct research in engineering machinery and equipment, industrial materials and processing to pilot plant stages, including engineering design, development and fabrication, and in particular, to conduct research into material sciences and technology, including metallurgical, foundry works, plastics, and synthetic fibers. Processing of ceramic materials and other solid base minerals from industrial use, including development of ceramic, glass, and mineral technologies. Processing of agro-produce into various byproducts through development of appropriate technology and machinery requirements. Most importantly, carry out mechanical engineering, including engineering, design, fabrication, machining, and other processes. Carry out coal conversion and utilization. Very importantly, carry out chemical plant development. And more so, carry out electrical and electronic elements, particularly electrical generators, motors, transformers, switch gears, batteries, and other equipments. More so, undertake economic valuation of research results to establish their viability in micro, small, medium, and large enterprises development. It will carry out training in specialized technical areas and award proficiency certificates. Establish a specially advanced technology center with a postgraduate degree awarding curriculum in science and technology in collaboration with an accredited university. Carry out technical, analytical, and consultancy services for existing and planned industries, and handle any other related matter as may be determined by the Honorable Minister of Innovation, Science and Technology, or President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, taking into cognizance the existence of the agency over the past 53 years, you know, here, there may be myself, maybe any other person who was not yet born when this institute came on board, and yet, the developments in industry and policy trust of the government, it is expedient to provide the needed legislative framework for the agency to operate optimally as it will, provide a robust legal framework which will strengthen and reposition the agency to effectively discharge its statutory duties, bring about operational improvements. I therefore urge my respected distinguished colleagues, Mr. President, to support this bill for a second reading. I so move.
I want to thank Senator Ndubweze while seconding his motion for bringing to fore something that I think most of us have actually not known. This particular agency has always been part of what the Senate members and members of the House of Rep were always dealt with them, and I never knew that it actually didn't have an enabling law. So I think that this is, yes, I think this is a fairly straightforward thing that we're not going to lose a lot of this thing over. And I want to urge all of us to approve this second reading. I so submit.
Most of us here have executed our constituency projects through PRODA. So what this bill is seeking to do is what was not done ab initio, that is creating the legal enablement for its existence. So it's something that will call for a very lengthy debate so that we can move on to do other things. And Patrick Ndubweze, I don't know how you got the information. It shows how good he is in terms of dealing with matters relating to his area and the nation at large. And he was able to bring it forward. So let me yield the floor to Senator Mongono, the Chairman Committee on Judiciary, to just say one or two words so that we can now move forward, because it's already in existence, no much debate about it.
Say, this bill is res ipsa locutor. It speaks for itself.
It's what?
Res ipsa locutor. It speaks for itself. It's merely an invitation to this Senate to do the needful as per Section 4 of the 1999 Constitution as amended, which gave this august body the power to legislate for the peace, order, and good governance of this country. So it's an invitation for us to do the needful, to give the agency that is already in existence the legal teeth to back and bite in the course of discharge of his statutory mandate. So as you rightly pointed out, it's not something that is that requires much debate, but rather to pass it for second reading with the speed of light without much ado. Thank you.
Thank you, but...
my name is Oji Uzokalo. I represent Abia North. I was just getting up my hand to second the motion, but our brother Abaribe already done that. You call Senator Mongono, who gave a legal backing to it. I think, in supporting the motion of Senator Ndubeze, I think he has done a lot, and I urge most senators to go around and see other entities like PRODA that are not backed by law. It's not only PRODA. There are many other entities like this that are not backed up by law. I encourage one and every one of us to see what we can do in looking for entities like this that are not backed up by law. Mr. President, PRODA can be very useful to the country because there are a lot of young men and women. There is something they are doing now, if they are successful, by the side, not by ZIP or something. They are trying to do a 35 kVA generator, and they are doing it. And once it's successful, to be run by water. Once it's successful, no diesel, no petrol, nothing. If it's successful, it will be good for me and for you. Thank you, Mr. President, for giving me the opportunity.
The information I want to give the Senate. The information I want to
Excuse me, but
yes.
the order you came through, you cannot use that to ventilate your view on PRODA. What you need to do is to raise your hand to be invited to contribute. And we made it very clear. This is a serious Senate. We have a lot on our order paper, several things. PRODA has been in existence. We know PRODA, I know PRODA, everyone here knows PRODA. So let's not begin to waste time on this. The issue
is legal information, Mr. President. It won't take you 1 minute.
Okay, now, keep that your order aside.
You okay?
And since you are, well, I'll just give you 1 second, 2 seconds to see what you want to see.
1 second, Mr. President.
Second is gone.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, what I want to correct is the impression that there is no law covering PRODA as it is today. Even the paper says it was later taken over by the federal government through National Science and Technology Development Agency Decree number 5 of 1977.
It's a law.
That is a law.
Senator Dixon, please guide us.
That is a law.
Thank you, Mr. President. Henry Siraki Dixon, Bayelsa West. Mr. President, I wanted to, as I said, gently draw the Senate's attention to the fact that whereas a review of this PRODA law will be imperative, will be advisable, but to set the record straight for the Senate, so that all of us, and even people who may read the Hansards and watching us, will know that this Senate is properly guided, is that it is not correct that there is no enabling law. As our colleague has rightly said, PRODA was established by Decree 5 of 1977, and by the Constitution, the transitional provisions, it has a provision saving all those military laws, decrees in the case of the federal government, and edicts in the case of the various state governments. But having said that, it doesn't detract from the necessity for a review or an amendment. After all, PRODA, this decree we're talking about, started since 1977.
And with the technological developments, and all of us are aware of what PRODA is doing and what we need to support them to do more to advance technology and development in our country. So I support, after bringing this gently to the attention of the state, I support my good friend's bill that we read it for a second time so that when the stakeholders meet during the public hearing, we can now add more flesh to it. But just to keep the record straight, Decree 5 provided the legal framework.
Thank you, Senator Dixon. Thank you very much.
I want to draw your attention. This decree number 5, 1977, that took over through National Science and Technology Development Agency, if you go through our law books, it's not no more they are cited. 1. 2, this law, this bill was passed in the 9th Senate.
Senator Ndebezi, thank you very much. Senator Dixon has clearly said everything. He said, look, go ahead. Whatever that is there, if there's in fact, he has even expanded his scope. As a matter, so you should commend him for what he said. He's in support of a bill. So I think we should move forward. Leader, can we? Leader, please be last. Let's not.
Guiding the existence of this institution, it will be inappropriate for us to pass another bill for a second reading. All we can do is to accept for him to bring up another bill to repeal and reenact a law. That is what we should do.
At the committee on Science and Technology, you advise the Senate appropriately. So let's not rush it. Let's stop here. We'll move forward. The bill will refer to the appropriate committee. The appropriate committee will do all the research and investigation. And whatever is needs to be done, then we can now do that without any problem. So on this note, let me ask that put the question that those in favor that the bill be now read the second time, please say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. So the bill is now okay. The clerk of the Senate. A bill for an act to provide for the establishment of Project Development Agency, PRODA, Enugu, to conduct scientific, engineering, and technological research aimed at facilitating the domestication and industrialization of appropriate technology for socio-economic advancement of Nigeria and for related matters 2024 second reading taken.
It's meant to be observed not in breach, but in compliance. So I'm craving for the indulgence of the President of the Senate to strictly enforce the observance of this rule. Because in the motion that was, the bill that was immediately passed, after you have ruled, Senator Ezia insisted on speaking and you allowed him to speak. So once you rule, Mr. President, I'm craving for your indulgence to enforce the observance of this rule, of these rules, in compliance but not in breach, so that we should be properly guided. Thank you.
Thank you, Committee on Justice. Your point of order is fully sustained. You may wish to stand to move your motion.
Thank you, Mr. President of the Senate and distinguished colleagues. Thank you for the opportunity to lead this debate on the general principle of the bill to establish the Federal Polytechnic, Oneke, Ebonyi State. This bill was read for the first time in this hallowed chamber on Tuesday, 1st August 2023. Mr. President, the bill proposes the establishment of a Federal Polytechnic, Oneke, in Ezra South, Ebonyi State. an initiative that holds significant potential in advancing human capital development and providing an assured future for the youth in Nigeria and the boys in Central in particular. Education is the cornerstone of any progressive and prosperous society. It empowers individuals, nurtures talent, and provides a solid foundation for economic development. We must acknowledge the tremendous effort made by the government in expanding access to education for Nigerians, particularly at tertiary level. However, there is still more work to be done, especially in addressing skill-based educational needs of underserved zones and regions. Before now, Mr. President, the quest to acquire higher educational certificate was born out of the sole need for a white-collar job. Perhaps it worked in the past, but times have changed, and our country needs to move with the global trend. Globally, tertiary education is tailored to the skill set of individuals and to solve societal problems. As a reliable instrument for economic re-engineering of nations, polytechnics are renowned for providing practical and skill-based education, specializing in technical discipline, ICT, and applied sciences, which basically admit nations into global community driven by skills and technology acquisition. Mr. President, the secret to economic success and prosperity of developed nations and developing nations such as China, India, Korea, Singapore, and Brazil could be traced to huge investment in technological skill development. According to Mehan Perari 2005, countries are specialized that technical and vocational education training is a means to jump into the bandwagon of globalization. In Europe and Asia, East Asia, including China, technical and vocational education training, TVET programs, account for 50% and 33%, respectively, of upper secondary enrollment. The tremendous shift of employment to China and countries like India is as a result of preponderance of cheap but highly skilled and technically competent vocational education training that can ignite stellar economic growth. By establishing a federal polytechnic in Oneke, South, Ebonyi State, ensures that the youth of this region have access to quality technical education that will enable them to acquire the skills needed for technical competence and self-employment in an increasingly competitive labor market.
The federal government to establish a federal polytechnic in each senatorial district beyond this bill. And this is significant if this nation must move forward. It's a statement to you, Mr. Senate President, that we have a unanimous bill where we all converge and resolve that one polytechnic each for each senatorial district. We'll go home celebrating. We'll be happy. We feel this vacancy that is littering in our system. I urge you, Mr. Senate President, to lend your voice, your golden voice, of course, to this type of national important matter on the floor of the Senate. My distinguished colleagues, I congratulate you ahead of passing the bill here. Beyond this, that every senatorial district should have a federal polytechnic, given the urgency and the data of the number of people leaving secondary school that cannot afford to go to university or that don't have university in their domain. I so support wholeheartedly, legally, and senatorial-wise. Thank you, Mr. President.
There is a researcher, somebody that has 9 PhDs, including the PhD from Cambridge University. So I'm not surprised that he's making this a sound proposal. In any case, I said it the other day that the United States of America has over 4,000 universities. 4,000 universities, and there are 320 million. We are not trying to compare ourselves with them, but we have to work hard. If they that are now okay have 4,000, we that are struggling should have 8,000, so that we can get to where they are. So, but in any case, we are constrained by lack of money. We are trying, and we should do more in providing schools for our teeming youth that desire to be educated. And to be frank with you, I thank God that I was able, not in this Senate, when I'm the Deputy President of Senate, when I was an ordinary senator, I worked very hard to making sure that I got fed up with establishing in my local government, in my village. So I will support anyone that desires to do the same. So Senator Ombe, please run it up. Students, our youth cannot have access to having these kind of, technological know-how. So it's something that we should commend you for. And we commend all those that contributed, Zimo Ibrahim, Victor Ome, and who again? All those who contributed. You gave a wonderful contributions, and we look forward to having that day, that period when all central zones will have polytechnics. On this note, let me put the question. Those in favor that the bill now be read second time, please say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The Clerk of the Senate. The bill for an act to establish the Federal Polytechnic Ebonyi State to provide full-time courses in technology, applied science, management, and other field of studies, and to make provisions for the general administration and for other related matters, 2024 second reading taken. And this bill is committed to the Committee on Tertiary and Institutional and Telephone to report back within 2 weeks. The Leader of Senate.
Accountability in the operations of the Commission. The bill was read first on the floor of this chamber on the 15th day of February 2024. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, you may recall that National Hajj Commission of Nigeria was established in 2006, serving as regulatory agency on Muslim pilgrims, overseeing activities of states, Muslim Pilgrims Welfare Boards, FCT, and tour agents. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, you might also wish to note that the present practice allows state pilgrims welfare board handles accommodation and feeding of their pilgrims in Mecca, while NACON handles the accommodation and feeding of all pilgrims in Medina and Mashair, which is Mina and Arafat. The practice, of course, creates many inconveniences to pilgrims and affect NACON's ability to effective regulatory function. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I wish to further note that NACON screen airlines companies and qualify them for airlift of pilgrims and go further to allocate airlines to states, which practice itself is against the regulatory function of NACON. This bill, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, therefore seek to amend Section 4 of the Principal Act to involve states of the Federation and Federal Capital Territory in selection of airlines for Hajj operations, as well as allow states and FCT to manage accommodation and feeding of pilgrims in Medina and Mashair as may be regulated by NACON. Mr. President, my respected colleagues, the passage of this amendment bill will allow NACO to carry out its primary regulatory function, responsibility, and guarantee more efficient, accountable, and seamless Hajj operation for Nigeria.
Senator Abbas, for his foresight in bringing forward this bill, also commend those who contributed to the debate. And this is let me quickly put the question. Those in favor that the bill be now read this time, please say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The leader. Accountability and for related matters 2024 second reading taken. The leader of the Senate. A bill for an act to establish the National Institute for Educational Planning and Administration and for other matters connected there with 2024 third reading taken and passed. The leader of the Senate.
I seek the leave of the Senate to move for a motion to lay the report for the proposed 2022 to 2024 external borrowing rolling plan for Bureau of Public Enterprise BP. I so move, Mr. President.
I think you should rephrase your motion that the Senate receives and consider.
That's why I say
you said to lay. Correct? You said lay. You said lay. And if you didn't ask consider and consider.
Okay, to consider, and thank you, Mr. President, to consider, to receive and consider the report, Mr. President. Thank you.
You may lay your report.
Distinguished colleagues, you recall that at the plenary on November 4th, 2023, a communication from Mr. President requesting for the approval of the Senate borrowing plan was read on the floor and was referred to Committee on Local and Foreign Debt for further legislative action. The total borrowing request, as captured in the attached schedule of Mr. President's request, is 7,944,508,559 United States dollars and 100 million euros. A report, number 1, of the Joint Committee recommending the approval of the project amounting to the sum of 7,444,508,559 United States dollars and 100 million euros under the 2022 to 2024 external borrowing rolling plan was laid before the Senate and was considered on the 30th December 2023. Following the resumption of the committee's consideration of the outstanding request and after legislative interactions, deliberations, and due diligence, the committee hereby submits its report and sought for the approval of the recommendation therein. The committee notes, most importantly, the terms and conditions under which the loan will be borrowed will not in any manner compromise the sustainability of the Nigerian economy or hinder the integrity and independence of Nigeria as a sovereign nation. The committee therefore recommends as follows: that the Senate do approve the ongoing negotiation of external borrowing in the sum of 500 million United States dollars for Bureau of Public Enterprise, that the terms and conditions of the loan from the funding agency be forwarded to the National Assembly prior to the execution for concurrence and proper documentation. Thank you, Mr. President.
President, very distinguished colleague. I think what I'm about to seek clarification for, I found out that in the recommendation, they are just giving us a report on the earlier report that was presented by the committee on the $7.9 billion or $1 trillion or $1 billion borrowing plan, and that because of the failure of Bureau of Public Enterprise to appear then, it was stepped down. And this report is for the Bureau of Public Enterprise for seeking for the approval of their $500 million loan, which they want to. But sir, what I'm surprised that I would want to seek clarification from the chairman of the committee, or the standing in gap chairman, is that Nigerian Distribution Sector Recovery Program. I don't understand that needs such a huge amount of money of $500 million as loan. I want to be a little bit inquisitive about what really is this program for, and what we as a country tends to achieve in this program to the extent of giving approval of $500 million. I just want the chairman to clarify. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
This is not the first time. This report was actually presented in December, and it was considered and passed. But that of BPE, that's the portion which is $500 million, was stepped down because for the Bureau for Public Enterprise then didn't appear before the committee, and we seek same clarification. So to go straight to the point, the $500 million is meant for metering the nation. They are borrowing this money is for metering the nation. Thank you.
Now, having gotten clarification on that, let me go to the recommendation. Sum of $500 million in the ongoing negotiation of external borrowing for Bureau of Public Enterprise, BPE. Those in favor of this prayer, please say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. That the terms and conditions of the loan from the funding agency be forwarded to the National Assembly prior to the execution of same for concurrence and proper documentation. Those in favor, please say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Point of order. Say leader. To commend the Committee on Local and Foreign Debt for a job well done. Commend the chairman and his able deputy who present the report today for a job well done. A report that is well crafted and straight to the point. So, Vice Chairman, well done for what you've done. The Senate commends you.
This motion seeks to direct the Inspector General of Police and the Chief of Army Staff to urgently curb the incessant, senseless killings and maiming of innocent indigents of Nimbo, Adani, and some other communities in Uzuwan, in local government area of Enugu State, by suspected herdsmen, by ensuring adequate provision of security in the above local government area. The Senate notes that on the 7th of April 2024, 5 innocent farmers in Adani, a popular rice-producing community in Uzuwan local government area of Enugu State, were callously murdered by some rampaging herdsmen who invaded the community in the wee hours of the morning to commit this dastardly act. Notes further that on Sunday, 28 April 2024, at about 1400 hours, another attack was carried out
in the same local government area, where 4 innocent people in the farming village of Nimbo were gruesomely murdered by herdsmen in an unprovoked attack that is reminiscent of April 2016, where 46 people were killed in Nimbo. Cognizant that in February 2016, Abi community was the first to be hit by the same assailants, where 2 people were gruesomely killed, while 19 others were declared missing. Cognizant also that there was a major massacre in Nimbo in the early hours of April 25th, 2016, that left over 46 people dead and 14 persons injured, with their houses and other properties completely razed down. Concerned that these killings don't seem to be isolated, as their persistence indicates a pattern, and worried further that even with the 216 killings, the authorities, both at the state and the federal levels, have not taken robust steps to stop these killings. Concerned that if nothing very urgent and sustainable was done to put an end to this recurrent menace, people may begin to resort to self-help in order to ward off these criminal elements, and this may eventually lead to a complete breakdown of law and order, especially given the already challenging security situation in the region. Concerned also that with the tragic location of Uzuwani, with the strategic location of Uzuwani as a net producer of food in the country, these killings may have a significant impact on the food security of the nation, as more and more farmers are now becoming afraid to go to the farms for fear of being hacked by murderous herdsmen, and in effect, abandoning their communities and relocating to the urban areas, thereby excavating the rural-urban migration crisis in the country. Accordingly, the Senate resolves to urge the Inspector General of Police, the Chief of Army Staff, and the Director General of the Department of State Services to investigate, arrest, and prosecute these criminal gangs to serve as a deterrent. 2, also urge the Inspector General of Police and Chief of Army Staff to urgently establish police and military presence in Uzuwani local government area to put a permanent stop to the incident killings. 3, mandate the Senate Committee on Legislative Compliance, Police Affairs, and National Security and Intelligence to ensure compliance and provide lasting solutions. 4, urge the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, to provide relief materials to the victims to cushion the effects of these unwarranted attacks. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, my distinguished colleagues.
Distinguished Senator Kevin, may you second the motion.
Occurred in Nimbo, where killings, about 46 citizens were killed, were maimed. The then governor of Enugu State went there. On seeing the incident, on seeing the site, he wept. So I urge my colleagues to call the federal government and the relevant authorities to investigate and bring to book these people that carried this out. The Senate...
you have 1 second remaining.
The Senate will record that the Nimbo community is a rice-producing community that produces rice in a larger quantity. And given the fact that this administration urges us to encourage local farmers, so they should be protected. I so move.
Yeah, they should be protected. Even if they are not producing rice, they should be protected. But more so than they are producing rice, they should be more protected. Minority Whip.
We have ripple and continuous issues involving headers. And it is important that this issue is looked into and resolved. However, the only area I would like to point out is that since this particular issue happened, I am also aware that my brother, Senator Kezia, should also be aware that paragraph 5 of this motion, which says that the government, as state and federal government, has not taken robust steps, is not correct. From the date this matter happened, the state government immediately visited the scene of the incident and has deployed security intelligence. The DSS, the police, the army, the civil defense, and the neighborhood security have all been swung into action, and even some people have been arrested with respect to this killing. An investigation is still going on. Just a few days ago, the governor has also set up a special security force that is going to continue to look through the issue of header farmers crisis within Enugu and see to its solution. So I disagree with the motion as a co-sponsor that the government hasn't done anything with respect to this matter. It is a misrepresentation, and I withdraw from that particular statement. I am urging also that we will all cooperate together with the government to ensure that our people are secured. We don't have insecurity, you don't have us and them. Security is everybody's responsibility, and we must all work together to ensure that we secure our places. I commend the state government, I commend the military, I commend the police for the cooperation they have given the state in ensuring that this particular issue, the governor is 1 year in office. We know this has happened twice, and we know the actions he has taken. Even recently, those that are affected, even the police that lost their life in the process of protecting the community, the governor has offered scholarship to their children and offered a whole lot of relief to make sure that those that are impacted get succor. I know we can get more from humanitarian and all that, but we should commend people for doing what they do. We can't come here and misrepresent facts. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Plan of Plateau. Round up so that we can move to the prayers.
Okay. After the dry season, the rainy season is a period where agriculture is practiced by Nigerians. The rainy season is a period where Nigerians meet up our agricultural security or food security in our country. I rise to support this motion, first of all, that whenever we bring issues of insecurity from our various constituencies, this Senate and leadership of the Senate create sufficient time to listen to us. I would like to commend us for creating time to listen to issues of this nature. I would like again to stress that the farming season is at hand, and this is a period where we could easily witness these clashes amongst herdsmen and farmers. And therefore, the call that the police and all security structures need to be more on the alert at season like this, particularly on flash areas, to ensure that our people be able to go to farm and then participate in their farm activities peacefully will be advantageous to us. So I call us all.
1 second remaining.
Yes, sir. 1 minute, sir. And I would also know that, just as said by my colleague, it will not only be the issue of the security. I think this is another period for all of us to be close to our constituents, so that issue of encouragement on peace and tolerance should be promoted by us. When we are all on the same page, I want to assure you we'll have a peaceful country and we'll have a peaceful farming season. I thank you for the opportunity to contribute.
Thank you, Senator Plan Dickett from Plateau. And now we'll now go to the prayers. Prayer 1. Urge the Inspector General of Police, the Chief of Army Staff, and the Director and prosecute these criminal gangs to serve as a deterrent. Those in favor of this prayer, please say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Also urge the Inspector General of Police and the Chief of Army Staff to urgently establish police and military presence in Uzuwani local government area to put a permanent stop to the incessant killings. Those in favor of this prayer, please say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Mandate the Senate Committee on Legislative Compliance, Police Affairs, and National Security and Intelligence to ensure compliance and prefer lasting solution. Those in favor of this prayer, please say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Further, urge the Minister or the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, to provide relief materials to the victims to cushion the effects of these unwarranted attacks. Those in favor of this prayer, please say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. And the lives and properties of the people of this country should always be put in the front burner. And you've attested to this constitutional provision and general principle of leadership by bringing forward this motion. So we thank you very much for taking the lives and properties of your people to importantly. And I also commend the minority whip for putting the record straight, because whoever did well should be commended. The state government did very well from what you've said, and also the police and the army. They should be commended, because when you commend them, that will propel them to do more. But if someone did something well and you fail to commend such person, that will not really be good, and it will bring some level of lack of satisfaction in terms of performance, in the future on the aspect of those who really perform well in any aspect of our security such as this. So thank you all for making your robust contribution, and we hope that peace will be brought to bear, peace will prevail in that local government. Thank you very much. Leader of the Senate.
Commander-in-Chief of the Army Forces, to rescue local government system in Nigeria. The Senate notes that in the history of local and Nigerian government system, local government are meant to be threat to urban development close to the ground, as the closest tier of administration to the people. They hold the potential to address local needs directly and shape communities from the inside out. But the story of Nigeria's local government system is one of the promise and paradox, woven with the thread of hope and frustration. Also note that the journey began in 1976 with local government reform, aiming to decentralize power and empower communities as self-government entities with elected officials. Local government handle critical aspects of community life, like primary education, healthcare, sanitation, local infrastructure, and community security. It was a dream of grassroots democracy, where decisions were made closer to the people they impacted. Aware that Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, when he served as governor of Lagos State, from 1999 to 2007 demonstrated sincere passion for the autonomy of local government in Lagos State. This can be grasped when he purportedly established 37 LCDs within local government in Lagos State and introduced reforms to strengthen them. Also aware that the Senate President of the Senate, Senator Goodwill Afabio, when served as Governor of Akwa Ibom, started from 2007 to 2015, implemented various initiatives to improve service delivery at the local level, such as rehabilitating infrastructure, investing in healthcare and education, and launching poverty alleviation programs, as well as deducting 10% of the IGR to local government, which informed groundbreaking achievement by local government in Akwa Ibom State. What is that, however, the dream of achieving the objective of the local government system encountered harsh realities. Successive government often eroded local government autonomy, limiting their financial resources and control over decision-making. Corruption scandals and management tarnished the image of some local government, fueling public cynicism, and even development across the country also meant limited resources were only sometimes distributed fairly, leaving some communities feeling neglected. Further worried, there are some corrections. Further worried that some local government play a crucial role in frustrating local government autonomy in Nigeria via constitutional alteration. Some of the reasons why the governors frustrate the local government autonomy include governors and State House of Assembly obtain oppose amendment that strengthens local government autonomy, fearing a loss of control over resources and power. They connive with legislators or influence public opinion to sway votes against such amendments. 2. Many states continue to withhold or manipulate statutory allocation meant for local government, hindering their financial independence and the ability to function effectively. Some governors appoint their loyalists or party members to key positions in local government, undermining democratic principles and accountability at local level. Governors may influence state legislators to pass law restricting local government power and decision-making, further limiting their autonomy. Concern that with limited financial and operational autonomy, local government may struggle to effectively address local security concerns like community policing initiative, intelligence gathering, and infrastructure maintenance. Also concerns that without genuine control and decision-making power, local government may be unable to tailor security measures to specific community needs and to build trust with residents, hindering cooperation and effectiveness. Disturb that without the power to initiate and manage local economic development initiatives like attracting business, investing in skill training, and promoting local entrepreneurship, local government may be less equipped and address unemployment. Also disturbs that reliant on higher level allocation, local government may lack sufficient resources for essential infrastructure maintenance and development, leading to the deterioration of roads, water system, and vital services in the communities. Both as that Nigerian current security challenges are deeply concerned, and the lack of adequate financial autonomy for local government poses a significant obstacle to effectively address them. Without sufficient resources, local governments are unable to invest in crucial security architecture, including training personnel, improved infrastructure, and community engagement initiatives. This significantly hinders their ability to participate effectively in national security efforts, leaving communities vulnerable and jeopardizing the overall safety of the nation. And of course, also bothers that the proverb, an idle man is devil workshop, ring true in the context of Nigerian security challenges. Local government, once major employers, are financially constrained and unable to hire the necessary staff. This surge in unemployment creates a pool of vulnerable individuals susceptible to criminal recruitment, further exacerbating the nation's security issue. Accordingly, I urge the Senate resolve to urge Mr. President and the Commander-in-Chief of the Nigerian Army Forces to champion the cause of full autonomy for local government in our nation. The challenge we face, persistent security threat, rural-urban migration, decaying infrastructure, and widespread unemployment demand bold action, and we believe that empowering local government holds the key to unlocking a brighter future for Nigeria. Convene a national dialogue involving governors, state legislators, local government officials, civil societies organizations, and community leaders to discuss the roadmap toward achieving full local government autonomy. Use his leadership and the influence to persuade the federating units and all critical stakeholders in the constitutional alteration process and administrating to embrace the vision of full local government autonomy. Also, I am urging the President to champion and change to the Constitution that enshrine and guarantee genuine independence of local government, granting them control over their resources, decision-making authority, and power to chart their development path. Urge federal government to fully comply with the existing legal provision that empower government, ensuring timely release of allocated funds directly to their bank account and streamlining administrative process. Unified electoral system and tenure of office of the chairman, councillors of local government throughout Nigeria. Finally, stop further with the allocation of funds to caretaker committee at local government area. And finally, carry out any assignment which, in the opinion of the Senate, can assist in achieving the objective of this motion. I so submit, Mr. President. Thank you, my dear colleagues.
President, Senator, Leader, after Senator Alero, you speak. Sorry. Senator Alero should speak. Being a former governor, probably he will give us, okay, sir. He will give us a way out.
Simply because the governors were not interested in making local governments autonomous. Secondly, Mr. President, the issue of INEC conducting local government elections cannot be done without amending the Constitution that made it possible for state independent electoral commissions to be established and to be maintained by the state government. And it is the state independent electoral commission that conducts local government elections, not the National Independent Electoral Commission. Equally, the local government joint account is the monster that really frustrates the independence of the local government. I'm happy the mover of the motion gave historical analysis of how the local government were operating when we started in 1999. By then, I was a governor. I didn't even know what each local government gets, because by then they were getting the allocation directly from the federation account. I think Governor Oji Ozokalu can testify to that. It was later on that the then president said there is a constitutional provision that makes it mandatory for every state to open what we call local government joint account. And he said local government allocations should not be released to the local government directly until the state government open what they call local government joint account. And when that local government joint account was opened, all allocations for local government were channeled to that account. And then at the end of every month, the governor had already constituted what we call local government joint account committee that will allocate all the funds that came into that account, plus the 10% allocation, 10% allocation of internally generated revenue for the state that goes into that account. Having said that, Mr. President, unfortunately, this is not working. And that's why the security situation in the country is compounded. The healthcare delivery system in the country is not working, particularly at the local government level. The educational system, as we all know, particularly primary education, which is supposed to be the responsibility of the local government, they are no longer capable of carrying out these responsibilities because the resources that are coming are being cornered by the government, by the governors. They only give them money to pay salaries, and that's all. So there is no other time, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, to amend the Constitution and to make it possible for local government to operate autonomously and to function as enshrined in the 1999 Constitution. And I will quote Section 7, Mr. President, Constitutional Provision, Section 7. With your permission, Mr. President, local government system, Section 7 of the Constitution. The system of local government by democratically elected local government council is under this Constitution guaranteed, and accordingly, the government of every state shall, subject to Section 8 of this Constitution, ensure that their existence under a law which provides for the establishment, structure, composition, finance, and functions of such council. Mr. President, this is where the state government came in and decided to emasculate the autonomy of local government. Most of them, they made laws, and in the laws they made it absolutely necessary for the councils to operate under.
We have 1 minute remaining, sir.
So, in one up, Mr. President, this section, the governors are using it to make laws that will make them to control the local government. And all the finances of the local government go to them to the extent that they will not be able to discharge the functions given to them by the Constitution. So I suggest, Mr. President, in conclusion, that we must amend the 1999 Constitution to make it possible for the local government to function efficiently and effectively. Unless we do that, it will be a mirage to expect the local government to perform their constitutional responsibilities. I rest my case, Mr. President.
In the governance structure of this country is the local government. Mr. President, I want to commend my friend and colleague who has, with some courage, brought forth the issue of local government autonomy once more on the floor of the Senate. Mr. President, you will recall that on several occasions, issues of local government autonomy has come up on the floor of this Senate, even up to the level of the Constitutional Review Committee. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I think the abuse of the local government system is no longer new to anybody. The issue that we have now is who will bear the cat. Mr. President, we will recall that it has been mentioned on the floor of this Senate that over 17 local states in this country are operating the caretaker committee system, which is a complete violation of Section 7.1 of the 1999 Constitution as amended. Yet, nobody has picked up the challenge of confronting state governments with such aberration. And so I think that this motion, therefore, is directed at the appropriate quarter, the President and Commander-in-Chief of this country, that he alone must find literally a political solution to this impasse in the administration of the local government in this country. Mr. President, the law, the Constitution is misinterpreted virtually by state governments that confront the system like that because they think that there is a lacuna in the whole process. And so when they say democratically guaranteed, and they say the state government should provide for a law for its existence, that is not to abuse the local government system. But again, you don't have houses of assemblies that will confront the state governments that violate the Constitution in this manner. And therefore, Mr. President, I think that while we are preparing for a review of the Constitution, waiting for the state assemblies to learn their lessons of ensuring grassroots development, because the local government is the foundation of our democracy, we should not spare any effort in bringing it to the court of public opinion, the abuse of the local governments by the state governments that see the local governments as cash cows that they can use at the expense of the development of our communities. So I support this motion. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
You. The former Senate President, then the former Governor of Abia State will have the floor, and then his deputy will follow up.
I support this motion wholeheartedly. And let me say that when democracy sometimes is referred to as a government of the people, by the people, for the people, I think it's more of talking the local government level. All of us here, including Mr. President, when elections will be held, even for the presidency, we go back to our local government areas. And that is where the efficiency and effectiveness of governance should be instituted and maintained. Alas, what we have is a reverse. Mr. President, today's situation, and I mean the security situation of Nigeria, can be attributed to the comatose state of our local government system in Nigeria. Those days when the local government functioned, whether it was native authority or whatever, we had better security arrangements and were safer.
and better and more secured than now. And until the local government system functions, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, will be on a wild goose chase. Our security will continue to be deleterious. And therefore, here is the challenge. The political elites in Nigeria, regardless of what level you play your politics, our challenge is, let's be patriotic enough. Let's be statesmanly enough. Come together. Federal government, that is the presidency, the National Assembly, the state governors, the state assemblies, and even the local governments, and fashion out with a finality how and why our local governments should now function better. I think it will be asking Mr. President too much to say Mr. President should deal with this issue. This is a democracy. Mr. President takes the lead, but we also have full responsibility and obligations to support in whatever way we can through constitutional amendments and alterations, and our governors too. They have strong responsibilities. In fact, it's when we come together in a room that we can tell ourselves the truth. And if we decide to be truthful to ourselves, then this issue must be resolved. Local governments must be effective, must be guaranteed as the Constitution states very clearly. And of course, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I will also urge that we find a way on improving the capacity of those who run the local government system. Because I believe that this requires devolution of powers, giving the local governments a lot more, because they are closer to the people. In fact, you hear the states saying they want the federal government to devolve powers to them. So far they have, I think, their hands full, because they have taken most of their own and part of what the local governments are supposed to do. And therefore, what we need to do is to insist on constitution amendment, but also, I like that prayer too, where there will be a true dialogue led by Mr. President, where we tell ourselves the truth, we lead Nigerians who have been given the mandate, and we must be truthful to ourselves, that until we let the local government function, this country will remain, God forbid, under this kind of insecurity and, of course, uncertain economic and political development. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Add a little thing, because if we don't go back to the local government, we are not ready for banditry and kidnapping to go. When I was governor, Senator Abaribe is here, the councillors used to give contracts to grade routes. The chairman of a local government was a very important person. They controlled their votes. Nobody will come to Mahia to look for anything. They were doing everything in the local government. People that would like to come to Abuja will go to the local government council to look for contracts. So, in supporting this motion, I'm going to say that the only way we can solve what is happening in our country today is to return local government money 100% to the local government council and improve the capacity of the people running local government. The capacity must be as equivalent of anything. Like, you cannot just carry anybody and say, run this local government. The local governments are getting 300, 400, 500 million naira as a monthly allocation. So, Mr. President, help us to implement what my colleague Kawo had already said in this, because we need the local government council authorities. Please. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I remain in Abaribe, Abia South. I want to adopt everything that has been said while supporting this motion, but I just want to make a couple of points. One, we can see now that there is actually not so much that is wrong with the 1999 Constitution. A lot of people always continue to complain about the Constitution and say, oh, let's change the Constitution. But you can now see that the framers of the Constitution had Nigeria in mind. Because when we're talking about local government funds, what they said was that in addition to the funds coming from the federal government, that the state will add before it goes to the local government. But it has been bastardized, just like Senator Aliero, former governor, has said. Now, the real problem is simple. Who controls the governors? Under the law, they have immunity, so you can no longer sue them for utilizing the funds wrongly. Also, governors right now control the state houses of assembly, so they will never let the state houses of assembly make laws that will remove them from directly supervising how those funds will go. Therefore, in amending the Constitution, we should go back to Section 7, where this local government controlled by governors is, which is on the joint state and local government account, which means that if we control that and put strictures separating the state from having access to those ones, then we solve the problem. I think that that is the way to go, and I support a constitutional amendment to that effect. I so submit.
Let me equally thank all former governors, former deputy governors who are now talking, because one time or the other they are beneficiary of the system. And we thank you that they are now looking positively that Mr. President, please protect me. Protect me.
You are fully
I'm fully protected.
You are protected from the former governors.
Thank you very much, sir. Mr. President, in speaking to the motion, I want to say this, that I know for a known fact that during the last constitutional amendments, there was a move in this direction. And I am aware that the former president also supported the ideas as proposed by the mover of the motion. But the implementation stage, I don't know where we are. But I strongly believe that the prayers as contained in this motion, we should properly look into it so that we can provide a long-lasting solution to these challenges that have confronted our local governments at various state levels. I think with that, we can have one common goal, one common front to address all these issues that are contained in this motion and regarding our local government. I so submit, Mr. President.
Thank you, Chairman, for abiding by the time given to you.
Pass a bill, a law, to deduct money from the state, deduct money from the local government, and hand over to the federal to pay teachers' salary in the states. And the only law that will monitor, direct, promote, discipline should be the law of National Assembly. We said no. Now, not many people know about this clause. Check the financial autonomy of the last amendment. The clause was the last clause that was inserted there. And we challenged. We said, no, we can't give our money and then another body will not be supervising, directing. Nobody's saying this. This is one of the issues that killed the financial autonomy of local government last Senate. or last National Assembly. And that's the contribution I want to make. Mr. President, if you want to do it, let's be transparent. Let's be open. Let's call all stakeholders as suggested, so that everybody will be on board and the amendment will sail through. Thank you.
Thank you. Lastly,
thank you, Mr. President. I'm Senator Ifan Yoba, representing the good people of Anambra South. President, if we want to tell ourselves the truth, promote good governance in this country, and to be seen as people that are very serious, Mr. President, we need to look at that Section 7 of 1929 constitutional framework. We need to amend it so that we can start receiving, we can start understanding or having values for democracy in our respective states. A state like Anambra State has not conducted local government election in the last 18 years. And when you see the youth's unemployment, decadency...
18 years?
18 years, sir. In the last 18 years. So we don't have local government election. So, and the most important thing is, Mr. President, when you look at the decadence of governance, poor infrastructure, hunger, non-employment of youth, banditry.
Senator Vito Ome is saying that you have only 1 minute remaining.
Mr. President, I should be protected, Mr. President. I should be protected. I should be protected. He's now in Labour Party, and I think he's flowing with me. So, sir, and so many roads that is destroying the root of development in Nigeria. Mr. President, is the cause of, I think the fundamental cause is non-implementation of that 1999 framework. So I am supporting this motion, and we should be serious. We should be serious with it.
Senator Benson, we are done with the debate, but since you are insisting, I'll give you 1 minute.
I'm Senator Benson Friday Kombowe, representing Bayelsa Central Senatorial District. I've listened very carefully over this bill or motion, and take it from Ojukalo's submission. Local government, rightly, is the lowest ebb where development has to be taken to the people. And as one that have participated, right from councillor, local government chairman, and the House of Assembly, I think I stand a very good ground to explain some of the flaws that we have exercised over the time. As rightly said, while as a councillor, even though it was in the military regime, we enjoyed some bit of autonomy because almost at every given time, the local government funds were directly paid into the local government accounts. That was in 1992, 1993. Again, as local government chairman in 97, 98. After the accounts, after the FAC has remitted monies to, sorry, sir. Yes.
I read the check.
The local government were directly getting their monies. And I, as an operative, we were getting our monies, and we exercised the right of the local government chairman as a...
One second. From what you are saying, you are really in support of the motion.
Yes, sir. What I'm saying is that...
Just 1 second remaining for you.
As a state operative, the experience has been that the governors, what I want to emphasize, is that the governors have been the problem. The governors have always refused. And that is why, even though the state assembly members are so willing, each time we go into voting, we have not been able to get the 2/3 requirement of the total number of states.
How can we change that narrative?
That is where I'm coming, sir. In order to do that, the clauses that you have been forwarding in the past have always added addendums. They have always come with some other subsections that does not have anything to do with the local government autonomy. And that is why it has always had some setback. And so, for us to have it completely passed into law, we have to go straight. If you want the local government finances to go to the local government straight, that has to be explicitly written, and the clauses should not be added with any other thing.
Thank you. The Senate Committee on the Review of the Constitution will take note, which I chair.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for this insight. We'll
Thank
look
you
at
very
that.
much.
Representing Katsina South, I want to sincerely appreciate the mover of this motion, and also as a chairman, Constitution Review Committee, I think it is important and the bedrock of most of the Nigerian problem, because I served as local government chairman for 10 years, 3 times caretaker, 3 times elected. Mr. President, if we can salvage Nigeria, it's only when we give local governments autonomy. It will resolve, and it will even help most of the challenging problems we have. That is the security situation, the economic situation, the pressure we have as leaders, because the movement of people from rural areas to urban areas is because of lack of resources available in their local government. They have to go for greater faster. Mr. President, it's a challenge that we must look at it headlong to make sure we salvage this country by engaging the critical stakeholders to ensure this amendment is done when it comes to constitutional amendment, because it was during Obasanjo regime, there is a serious crisis in Katsina and Lagos State. So, Mr. President, as a matter of fact, this is the only foundation that will solve all our problems in Nigeria. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished senators. Simon Lalong, the member representing the Plateau South, Senator representing Plateau South. Mr. President, I stand here to support this motion because I exhibited it in Plateau State. When people say, well, how did we achieve peace? It was because I gave autonomy for 4 years before I left. People are talking about constitutional issues. If you are from Oyo, I am aware that there was a Supreme Court judgment in respect to administration of local government. Judgment of a court. And interestingly, Mr. President, this case started and it was encouraged, I will say, sponsored by our current president. He was not then president. President Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He said we must fight for constitutional issues. And he came into Oyo to fight for local governments. The matter went to Supreme Court. Judgment was given clearly. If you read that case of Oyo, you will know that it is even, we are getting late. By now, we should follow what the Supreme Court said and give autonomy to local governments. Otherwise, even after that judgment, Mr. President, a lot of governors are still doing caretaker committees. The Supreme Court said caretaker committee is alien, it is unconstitutional, it is illegal. If something is illegal, why are we then allowing them to take funds from local governments? It is very simple. There's no need to take money illegally and you are spending money illegally. I support that motion. Without that, that's why I said those from Oyo, somebody said somebody did. I am aware. I've been the chairman of this several times, Governors Forum. There was no election in Anambra for over 8 years. Later, there was 1 year election, and after that, caretaker committee today. That is what is happening. So if we want to help people to go back, if we want security to be addressed at the local government level, I want us to support. It will not be easy. We started the autonomy for judiciary and the legislature. It was not easy. But today, they have autonomy. So this one too is possible. And I support the motion that local governments should be granted their autonomy. Yes.
Or they are doing what you did. Of course, the entire nation will have changed. The insecurity we're talking about wouldn't be there. Rural urban migration will be reduced to the barest minimum. The economy of the local government's area will be booming, and so on and so forth. So thank you. Before I go to the prayers, let me say one thing. The facts have been explained by all the speakers that during the military regime and the early part of the Fourth Republic, the local government areas were having their full autonomy. And there was full sense of security prevailing then. The economies of all these local governments was booming. Rural urban migration was very, very small. As said by Senator Oji Uzokalu, even councillors were awarding contracts. So the money was there, and they were doing very, very well. Even some local governments were very rich because they were having their internally-generated revenue. Why did that happen? First of all of you have forgotten who conducted that local government election, the local government election that brought those people to power. Who did that? It was INEC. It wasn't state electoral commission. So people went on their own, contested for elections. They weren't, errand boys of anybody, and they won their elections. These are people that had credibility, that knew what they were doing. And so that's why you have that scenario being the way it was. But later, what happened? Later, the elections were conducted by State Electoral Commission. And there were no elections, Even now, elections were just called elections. Some will even swear in shrine, in churches, in mosques, that, okay, if you put my name, I will ever be loyal to you, and so on and so forth. So what do you expect from those people? So they will, after the grants have been given to local governments, they will give them blank check, they will sign, and that money will be removed in line with the whims and caprices of the state governors. We know this. You see paperwork. You see, everything being done properly, but that is just what you could see on a mere paper, but the real thing is done in line with the whims and caprices of the state governors. So there are chains of action to be taken. It's not only for us to vote for the autonomy of local governments. We must vote for a body different from a body that will be controlled by state governments to conduct local government elections. Otherwise, forget it. We must return local government elections to INEC. Or if you are not listening to INEC, create a body which is independent of state governors in the first place. If you do not that, if you don't follow this chain of actions, and you say you want to have autonomy, even with this proposal we're having, we'll go and do it. But who are those to man or to control those funds? Chairman. Appointed by who? By governors. So in Hausa, you say, but it doesn't anybody. It doesn't change anything. So we have to, concentrate on two things. Mode of election, those who are going to conduct the elections, to have the people that are going to man the local government areas, have an independent, truly independent body to conduct the election. Then we go for amending the constitution to allow for the autonomy. And as been said, the president is a true Democrat, a progressive Democrat. He believes in the autonomy of local governments. I know that, but in this process, he will only lead. Then we in the National Assembly will follow, and then he will convince the governors. Because we are operating a democracy. the governors should be prevailed upon because they control the state. I'm sorry to say this, but it's a fact. They control the state assemblies so that they will understand it, so that we will now have, just as before, we have normalcy in our local governments. Now, most of you spend billions of federal funds to provide boreholes in our local governments, build health centers, but after you've done that, those projects remain unattended to. Nobody maintains them. They rot away because the local government are supposed to maintain them just because of just 5,000 naira to buy a small hole or north to fix a borehole. That borehole remain like that without being fixed, and it will no longer be used by the locals because the councillor or the local government chairman that will provide that money does not have. They don't have the funds. So having said so, let's go to the prayers. Prayer 1. Urge the President, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Federal Republic of Nigeria to 1. Champion the cause of full autonomy for local governments in our nation. The challenges we face: persistent security threat, rural-urban migration, decaying infrastructure, and widespread unemployment, demand bold action, and we believe that empowering local governments holds the key to unlocking a brighter future for all Nigerians. Those in favor of this prayer, please say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Convene a national dialogue involving governors, state legislators, local government officials, civil society organizations, and community leaders to discuss the roadmap towards achieving full local government autonomy. Those in favor of the prayer say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Use his leadership and influence to persuade the federating units and all critical stakeholders in the constitutional alteration processes and administrative bottlenecks to embrace the vision of full local government autonomy. Those in favor of this prayer say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Also, champion changes to the Constitution that enshrine and guarantee genuine independence for local governments, granting them control over their resources, decision-making authority, and the power to chart their development paths. Those in favor of this prayer, please say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Urge the federal agencies to fully comply with existing legal provisions that empower local governments, ensuring timely release of allocated funds directly to their bank accounts, and streamlining administrative processes. Those in favor of the prayer, please say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Well, I'm not getting to this. Unfold or unified electoral system and tenure of office of the chairman and councillors of the local government areas in Nigeria. Those in favor of these prayers say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Further, stop further with the allocation of funds to caretaker committee led local government areas. Those in favor say aye.
Clause 7.
Huh? Amendment?